My name is Robin Otjes from the University Medical Center Groningen. That's separate from the University of Groningen, so just to mention that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the role that we have for Pure in supporting our research impact analyses. And I will do this basically for 4 topics. I want to start with how do we manage Pure and the research output in there. I want to talk a little bit about the new reporting module, what we do with it, how we use the data from Pure in SciVal with a couple of examples. And at the end, I will end with a conclusion. Well, first, if we want to use the data that is in Pure for our research analytics and research impact analyses, we need to make sure that the data in Pure is not only complete, but also correct. So for us, we have decided that the medical library is actually responsible for all of the data that is in Pure, which means that I used to have a team of 4 people and some student assistants that helped me get everything into Pure and make sure that it is correct. Sadly, 2 of them left, and due to budget cuts, we cannot replace them, so this is going to be a challenge, but probably not only the problem that we were facing. But what we do is that throughout the year, we will manually import all research outputs that we can find that have a Medical Center Groningen affiliation into our Pure. We do this via Scopus, and I put here on the slide that we have a workflow outside of Pure, which was basically my presentation at the Pure conference last year, so I'm not going to repeat that, but of course I'm willing to discuss that in the break. But it comes down to that we will find any publication that we can find and we will load it into Pure, validate that, make sure that all the metadata is correct and have the data quality as high as we can. Our researchers are also allowed to enter their research into Pure themselves from other systems like PubMed or whatever other database they can find. We will then validate that research and make sure that the data is also correct in Pure. Well, as you can imagine, that every record that comes into our system is checked, and we have between 4,000 and 5,000 research outputs per year. That is very, very labor intensive. The result is that we have a complete Pure with high data quality, but it takes a lot of time. And therefore, because we also have less people now, we are very much looking at how to automate this process. And while loading data into Pure itself is not the biggest issue, loading data into Pure that has the data quality that we are expecting is an issue. And we have a project running for this, and we hope to, well, I hope as soon as possible, but probably next year, we will have something running. Also, when talking about managing the data in Pure, I want to shout out to what we do with open access. We have a goal of having nearly 100%. We have a goal of 100% open access for all our publications. 75% of this is directly open access via the publisher. The last 25% is actually something that we do via Pure. In the Netherlands, we have a copyright law that allows us to make publications open that have been funded by public funds, so which is basically all publications. There is it needs to be after a reasonable time, so that time is 6 months. So what we do is we find the PDF, either we have a license, we download the PDF, or we will look in other repositories, or we will email the researcher. In some way we will get the PDF, we will enter that into Pure, and then put that under an embargo of 6 months, and then open it up. This means that we reach nearly 100% open access every year. This is also great, of course. The research that we are doing is then visible, it can be found online, and this also increases the impact. But yeah, having the data in Pure is one thing. What we also need to do is very much check the data quality. Even though we import manually one by one, we see every record, it's only human to make a mistake sometimes. But we need to have reports to identify those mistakes and then correct them. So I have a couple of examples on screen. So we run reports on checking the open access licenses. More importantly, if we check if there are wrong or multiple DOIs in the system. We check for publication status. So is something on accepted? Well, it should be on published. And lately we've been working a lot with Scopus author IDs. So we have the author IDs in our Pure. But some authors have multiple Scopus IDs, and we need to merge them and make sure that we have the right one in Pure. So that also takes a lot of time, but in the end, when you have that correct, it helps you a lot. Now, well, there's one big issue that I want to mention here. For us, it is external organizations. We have a lot of data quality that we can just do manually ourselves, but for external organizations, we have over 185,000 in the system, of which, of course, most of them are duplicates, but there is just no time, there's no way to justify the time that we need to put in this to get that fixed. Well, we have the data then in Pure, we have it checked. What do we use it for? Well, the top one is of course easy. That's probably the same for all of you here. It's shown on the portal, so the departments and researchers can use the portal to showcase their research. More interestingly, we also need it for external assessments. So within the Netherlands, we need to report to the government how much research we do. That comes from Pure. We have a national open access monitor, which is the data we take from Pure. There is a national benchmark on all medical centers, for example. The data comes from Pure. So for us, it's important that Pure is filled, because if it's not filled, for all those assessments, the data is not used. More importantly, and that's what I want to focus on right now, are more of the internal reports that we do, and we can distinguish those into 3 levels. So an individual report for researchers, a report for departments or research groups, or for the whole institution. And this is also where Pure shines, or where Pure is very vital for us. Whenever I go to, for example, Scopus or any other citation database for that matter, I can very easily look up an individual, or I can very easily look up the whole institution. But I cannot go into, for example, Scopus and say, give me everything from the oncology department of the medical center. It's just a level that they don't have. But in our Pure, I can do this. So I can get all the publications from a certain department in our Pure, take that out, and then do further analysis on that. I want to go over to the reporting module for what we then do with the data. For the report module, there's a clear distinction of what we do. There is a report that we make, which is basically just publication lists, or we make a report with metrics. And just to give a quick examples, so for a publication list, well, it's easy, it's just a list of publications. But there are multiple purposes for that. So we have researchers that need that for their own CVs. We have researchers that need them whenever they do an application for a grant or whenever they get nominated for a prize. Our departments come to us every year whenever they want to have a yearly report and they want to know, okay, what did we publish? Well, in Pure, it's a push of a button to get that out. How I make those reports is usually a combination of the report module and the Pure editor. And this combination is needed because the report module only exports to Excel, while the departments and researchers usually want to have this in a Word document. And why I use the report module for this is because I can get in more information, so I can always send them more than just a list. And I want to quickly showcase a tip that I have, because usually when I explain this, either in the Netherlands or to my own colleagues, is that when I say that you can go from the report module to the editor, people tend not to know, so I thought, okay, let me throw in the tip. So whenever you make a report, you have your data table ready, you can make a data story in your reporting module. So in this case, I make a table, and it doesn't really matter what you choose, but I did it. I chose type and account, so it just means that you have a number of all publications. And I think it's 56, I think, but it doesn't matter. You click on the number, you get a list, and you have an option to show that list in a content list. Whenever you click that, you are sent to the editor. The filter is actually report, so it takes the data from the report that you make, and from there you have the option to export that into PDF, Word, or whatever you choose. This was a good tip, I guess. So very good. So I'm happy I put this in. All right. So yeah, by doing this, you can just get a very nice list in the reference style that you want. Now, the second type of reports that we make is the reports with metrics. So within our Pure, you have the metrics like the citations or field-weighted citation impact. You got PlumX metrics or download statistics. They're all in Pure. You can get them out using the report module. And I do this because I can make a report that just very briefly gives an overview of all of the data that we have. But it's not really user-friendly. So there are some challenges because every metric in the reporting module is its own relation. So you have research output and you relate that to, for example, citations, or you relate it to field-weighted citation impact or a plum-x, which means that you have a lot of clicking. You cannot easily rearrange the order of columns. There is a default view to always show 2 decimals, which if you are looking at download numbers or citations or something else, there is no need for 2 decimals. So, and also there's a problem with the column names, because you rearrange everything. They are all called numeric value instead of just having a citation or metric name. So, and of course this is probably way too easy for me to say, but I would like to have just one content type. So I relate it to metrics and then I select the values of the metrics that I want. That would be a lot faster and a lot easier. But I probably know that this is probably more difficult than I have in my head. And lastly, whenever you work with metrics within Pure, the values tab is not really clear. At least for me, it was not immediately obvious which selection I had to do. And I don't know if the picture is readable, but this is the choices that you have. And there is a featured option that only shows the metric name. So if you were to choose that, it would just say this publication has citations, for example, which doesn't give any information. We use it for a quick overview, but usually whenever we want to do any real impact or analyses or look at more metrics, we use SciVal for that. There is a connection between Pure and SciVal. But before, let me tell you quickly why we need to use SciVal, because in the Netherlands there is also in the Netherlands we don't want to look purely at metrics anymore, just to say I got this, my number is this high, so I get a promotion. They need to write their own impact narratives and just explain what their impact is and what their impact has been. But they can use metrics as a way to support their own statements. And that's why we are providing them still with the numbers that they can use for that. We're sending data from Pure in the editor to SciVal, and in SciVal we usually get it back. We export it to Excel, and then we use our Excel magic to actually make a report out of that. So from Pure you can send it to, and I realized that I made a typo here where it says Scopus should be SciVal, but you send it to SciVal. What it does is it checks all the IDs that you have in your Pure, your Scopus IDs, and it checks if they are, and it will send them to SciVal. You'll get this screen always that says, okay, these many publications are sent and these many are not sent. And I would recommend that you always check the ones that are not sent yet, because in my experience there are a lot of publications that can be sent to SciVal, but you just don't have the Scopus ID in your Pure. For me, one thing, because I'm almost checking this, I really want to have an export on that little screen, and this is something that I put an idea on the Pure support portal. So if you agree with that, please vote on that, just to have just to promote that a little bit. But whenever you're finished with that, you transfer them to SciVal. And for now, I just want to give a few report examples of whatever we then do with the data from SciVal. And I realized that I clearly don't have enough time to go into too much detail, but I'm very much happy to discuss this later. So what I want to show here is whenever we get the data back from SciVal, what we're looking at is always how many citations did someone get, but you also see that we have all publications and we have key authorship publications. For us, in the medical field, the author list and the author order is actually important, because they say that the first two authors are usually in the lead, and the last authors are the supervisors. So those are publications that we call key author publications, the ones that we want to look at a bit extra. So we always have publications, so this many citations for all publications, or this many citations for the publications that have key authorships. So we do it with author counts, we check the open access percentage, and in the yellow, the one that we are looking at the most right now is a field-weighted citation impact, because you're looking at citations that is very much discipline bound. So I can say I have this many citations, but for another field that might be much lower than they would expect. So you cannot compare that. You can compare a field-weighted citation. So just to very briefly say what that is, a field-weighted citation impact just checks how many citations did your paper get and how many citations did similar papers get. And if that is the same, then your score is 1. So if your score above 1, you got more than average, and if you score below 1, you have below average. So for this researcher here, they scored 133 or 114, so they, on average, get more citations than similar researchers. So and the last part here is just about citation percentiles. The citation impact, field-based citation impact, is an article level metric, so we're showing an average here, which is of course dangerous because averages are very much influenced by outliers. So within the further report, we always want to show more like a distribution of where the scores have actually been. So we make a graph that shows you how many scores are at 0. So how many publications have a score of 0, which means that they have not been cited yet. It could be that they're just new or something else. And how many publications have scores of 8, 16, or even higher, which means that they have had the real impact. Well, within SciVal, what they also do is provide topics to a publication. So publication gets into Scopus or SciVal, and they say, okay, this publication is in this topic. We take this back to departments, and of course departments know whatever they publish in, so that in itself is not that important for them. But what the topic is that it is a bound set of publications in SciVal. So I say to a department, okay, you publish a lot in this topic. This means that worldwide I can benchmark you now, say within this topic, you are within the top universities that publish within this field or this topic. Which also means that I can see other institutions or other researchers that also publish within this topic. So you can even find possible collaboration partners. And that is something that departments usually like to see. Well, the last example that I want to show is just very briefly an overview of collaboration and the type of, and how much citations you get per collaboration type. So we always see that publications that have international authors, so for us that is, you have at least one person that is not from the Netherlands, not a Dutch institution, also in your paper, have the highest citations, and then it goes back to national or institutional collaboration. And at the end, we always want to show you how many publications have a affiliation that is connected with industry. Well, to conclude, Pure is a source for all of our impact analyses. It's the only place that we have where we can find a validated set of publications from a department. That means that managing Pure for us is a priority. We need to make sure that Pure is complete, and we need to make sure that the data is correct. Because we as a library have taken up this role to manage Pure and also do the impact analyses, makes that we as a library can provide a service to help researchers and departments, which gives us a very central role within the organization. Because for a lot of things like grant proposals, prize appointments, promotion tracks, or yearly reports, or benchmarking, the institution, the department, and the people will always come to us for help. And I think this is something that, well, at least I really enjoy doing, and I think that's been good for the library. For now, thank you very much. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me or just come talk to me here in Cascais. Thank you.